Just buffering. Just buffering. Just buffering. And live.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Kent Union Elections 2021. So this year it's a bit different, we're doing it virtually. Unfortunately, we can't be at the venue. I'm Rachel and I'm joined by...
I'm Angelina. Yeah, this year's come around quite quickly, hasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. So I don't know if many of you were there last year, but I actually was presenting from the studio in the KTV studios. And it's obviously very different to be doing it from my bedroom, but we're here to give you the results and to give you a bit of a breakdown of what's going on. Angelina, would you like to tell us a bit about what the actual Kent Union elections are?
Yeah, so it's an opportunity for our students that go to Kent Uni to represent the union, to have a voice for the students that go to the uni as well, so that everybody's opinion is shared and everybody's heard. And it's a very fair experience for everybody and also a really enjoyable experience. So a lot of the students here can have their say, can see the things that they want to happen at the uni come to life.
Yeah, and it was a bit different this year. It was actually only a one-day vote. So normally it's a whole campaign week. I know last year I got a donut when I voted. And how did you find as a student the experience this year compared to last year?
So obviously we've had to adjust quite quickly to everything being online. So I think it was quite straightforward, all the voting online. It was really easy to find everything on the Kent Union page. So hopefully everybody managed to find where to vote and they managed to vote for who they felt best suited them.
Yeah, I found it quite easy to navigate as well. I think that Instagram was a huge part in everybody's campaign. I had lots of different pages popping up in different places, and I felt that was a big marketing strategy that a lot of people used versus actually physically standing outside the venue or standing on campus as they normally would be.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's much more accessible to everybody who comes to the campus. And not only that, but not everyone's on campus at the minute. Obviously, a lot of people are at home. So it's a much easier way to reach everybody that goes to the uni without, having to hold in-person events.
Yeah, definitely. And also some people here might not actually know what the elected officers do. So they actually work from the Mandela building and they are there to help us as students. And that is why it's so important to people to go out there and vote in these elections, because they're essentially there to make our university experience better, aren't they? And I know that for us, we both did sport together and we had a huge Emily, when we were last year, she had a huge impact on us when we were doing sport. And I think it's just so important that there are these officers there for us, don't you, Angelina?
Well, definitely. It's so important to have somebody represent you and, speak on behalf of you, because sometimes your voice can't just be heard individually. It is, a whole collective of people that can get things done. And so it's so important, yeah, as you said, that we go and vote. I know I voted. Have you voted?
I did vote, yes, I voted yesterday afternoon, and I was quite excited to vote, actually. I felt more excited this year, weirdly, than I have in the past going in person, and maybe that was because it felt like something was happening, whereas it's been quite a boring year, and so to actually feel like I could do something to make a difference at the university for, like, obviously I won't be here next year, but for people who will be here to make their university experience better. Don't know about you, but that's how I felt about going out to vote this year.
Yeah, definitely. I think the competition as well, especially between the presidents, this year's been really interesting to keep an eye on. And there's so many people that have, very similar opinions, and also some people that have things that they want to express differently to other people in the presidential elections, which has been really fun to follow. And all the campaigns, like you said, on Instagram have been really entertaining. There've been a lot of videos that really just connect with everybody rather than, long wordy pages of manifestos. It's been a much more easily engaging manageable time.
Yeah, definitely. And we've got Alejandro joining us now, who's going to further give us a bit of an analysis on the statistics and on the vote. So if you'd like to join, Alejandro.
Yes, hello.
Hello, welcome.
Yeah, so what we'll mostly be talking about is the exit poll that Inquirers ran actually today. So first of all, just when talking about the exit poll, of course, polls, they're generally not an indicator of the kind of like accurate vote share that we might see on the night. They're mostly more of an indicator of the direct support for each of the candidates. So what we're doing, I'm not sure if there's kind of a graphic that we can put up at all, but so what we're kind of saying is that we're planning for, or we're predicting, sorry, an Aisha win for presidency. I believe we were also predicting.
Oh, I think we may have just lost Alejandro, but as he said before, he has done the exit polls for Inquire, and he's going to give us more information on what information he has got from the exit polls. So hopefully he'll be able to rejoin us in a little moment. But yeah, he just said that Inquire have predicted in their exit polls that Aisha will win president. She is actually currently in Kent Union as VP academic experience. So what do you think about that Alejandro has just told us?
Well, I think it's really interesting because there are a few dark horses in the competition that I think could take it at the last minute. I know there's quite a lot of, like I said before, a lot of similarities in everybody's manifestos, where it's genuinely wanting to have the students' voice heard, a lot of focus on, mental health as well. And, especially where we've been in like a lockdown and COVID, just trying to support students through that, because a lot of our learning has been hindered a little bit because of, having to be online. It's just not the same. And so I think that's been a really important factor for all of the candidates this year. And so, yeah, I think there could be a few dark horses in the competition.
Yeah, maybe Amitesh, would you like to maybe join us and give us a bit more of an analysis if Alejandro isn't able to unmute himself and sort out the technical difficulties?
Right, so sorry, we expected Alejandro to join a bit later, but yeah, so sorry, that was just a communication mix up. But just to remind everybody, hello everybody, I'm Amitesh, I'm the station manager for KTV, and this time the exit polls have been, there have been some issues with it, but nevertheless, we will go ahead with that analysis. And just like last year, we will provide a bit of an analysis in how it kind of went through, how it all happened, and what people kind of are thinking and how people have possibly voted. Of course, as Alejandro did say, that these aren't exact kind of votes. These are, of course, tabled. They've been done before. So yeah, these aren't direct results, but they are stuff that we can work with. As it says on the presidential exit poll this time, Aisha Dosanjh has got 34.8% of the vote. So according to the exit poll, that's who KTV and Inquirer will be predicting as winners, followed closely second by, a Samir, who is at 31%, followed then by Zaid Mahmood at 16.3%, then Rian at 10.9%, lastly Tolu 2.2%, and Ron, which is 4.4%. Following on, then we have student engagement exit polls, in which Carolina is set to win according to these exit polls at 47.8%, followed by Felicia at 33%, followed by Ron. Our academic experience VP seems to be a very close tie. We don't actually know, because both have gotten equal exit poll votes. Both Lupe and Ellen are at 34.7%. I believe we do have Alejandro back with us. Alejandro, what do you think about that Ron figure at academic experience?
Yes, definitely. Sorry, my mic had cut out and lost connection. So one of the things that needs to be taken into account when talking about this exit polls particularly is that some of the Ron responses that we've had have been a bit over exaggerated, I would say, compared to what we've seen in previous years. We've tried to account for that in the weighting on these graphs right now. But again, that's something to keep aware of. So generally, I would say one of the main things to look out for races such as the academic experience race is how many of the RON votes that we've seen in the poll right now will go to whichever candidate, and that will really be where the real conflict will be in this race.
Right, thank you so much. Finally, we do have the Vice President for Welfare and Community exit poll, and this one is, again, because of the number of candidates, it's a bit of a skewed graph we have, with Thomas Freeston at 25%, following on by Sam Whitnall at 17.4%, then a tie between Faber and Mohammed, each at 13%, Saskia at 10.9%, and Ron at 20.7%. So this exit poll does have a lot of Ron weightage. Now, of course, that could be because of the technical aspect of the exit poll and the way the exit poll has been compiled, the way people have voted in the exit poll. If this is true, if this is a complete 100% indicator of how the actual elections would go, there seems to be a lot of Ron, which will, of course, have its own ramifications. But then again, these are exit polls, we don't know. Lastly, postgraduate experience, really quickly, we have Nelly at a lead, 32.6%, followed on by Toby at 29%. Then we have Laura at 17%. Ron then follows by 15.2%. And lastly, Achana at 15.4%. At 5.4%. I'm sorry. But these results kind of indicate some form of a clear winner. Now, whether these results are true, whether these results are not true, and how the voting distribution goes, we will find out pretty soon by the hands of Rachel, Angelina, and the wonderful people at Kent Union. But until then, it's just a waiting and watching time. Who will win? Will it be, the people who are running, or might it even be Ron with the high voting percentage this time? We don't know, and we're excited to find out. Back to you, Rachel.
Yeah, definitely exciting to find out. And I just wanted to follow on from that. I remember last year we actually had people come up on the exit polls that were going to win, and then it was totally different. So you really just don't know, do you? And I also just want to say before, Aisha is welfare and community at the minute. I got that wrong before. But yeah, so she's the one who was predicting the exit polls. What do you think about the exit polls, Angelina?
It's quite interesting to see that some people are really close behind each other, and that obviously just shows a clear indication that clearly what they're talking about in their manifestos is generally regarded as important by the students at Kent Union. So they have done their research, and they have, found what the students generally are most passionate about and what they do want to have heard. And obviously quite a lot of them, as I said, do have quite some similarities in their manifestos. So it shows that what they're doing and their campaigns are working, they're getting to the right people. And yeah, now it's just a waiting game. I'm really excited to see who does come out on top, because, it can change in the last minute, like you just said, what happened last year.
Yeah, and it's really interesting that Ron has come out on top, or had quite a lot of votes for some of them. And that means that nobody would get the position, and we wouldn't want that, would we? Because that, as Amitesh said, creates a whole other situation. So it's quite interesting that the exit polls even suggested that. So I think it's definitely going to be interesting when we do find out who has actually won these elections.
The people that are obviously voting for Ron, maybe they could give their feedback and input into, maybe what they would like to see a bit more of, and then it would, boost their vote to another candidate or something like that.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's also interesting, exit polls, because they do give you an indication, but then especially this year, for example, some people may have come out and voted that were never planning on voting, or who hadn't even given an opinion in the exit polls, because it has been so remote, the voting, hasn't it? Everybody's doing it from their own homes. Nobody's coming in person to do it. So I think it'll definitely be an interesting one, and I'm very interested to see who actually comes out on top. So yeah.
And I suppose with everything being all online, it can be hard sometimes to keep in contact with everything that's going on. Some people may not follow social media as widely as others. I know I follow social media quite well, so I'm always up to date on things. But some people who may actually be really interested may not have a very keen interest in social media. So it may be an inaccurate representation of the whole student body here.
Definitely. And now we're going to go on over to Tom Barris from Kent Union, who is going to actually give us the results.
Hi there. So I'm Tom Barris. I'm the Head of Student Engagement for Kent Union and one of the Deputy Returning Officers for this elections process. This year's elections have been like no other. In the midst of a pandemic and with everything delivered online, it has certainly been a different experience. We've had an amazing few weeks of online campaigning with plenty of candidate videos, Q&As, fun, engaging content, alongside discussions on serious issues impacting the student experience here at Kent. All this hard work by the candidates has resulted in 1,909 unique voters and 7,613 votes cast. I think we should take a moment to recognise the amazing efforts made by all of the candidates and their campaign teams this year and all the hard work put in by everyone involved. I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank all the hard work, dedication and effort of our representation, marketing and IT teams, as well as our colleagues at GKSU and Medway for all their help in running and hosting these elections this year. On to the running order for this evening. So tonight we'll be announcing the new leadership team for Kent Union. This is incredibly important as the elected officers are responsible for representing all 20,000 students at the University of Kent, and also for the strategic leadership of Kent Union, which is a multi-million-pound charity looking out for your interests. The voting system that Kent Union and most other students' unions use across the country is single transferable vote. This isn't different from the UK electoral system in that in single transferable vote, voters can rank candidates in order of their preference. This system involves a quota, a number of votes a candidate has to reach in order to be elected. As we go through the elections for each position later on in the results, we will see that each candidate, if they do not meet quota, then the candidates with the fewest votes will be eliminated from that round, and we will allocate the second and third preferences, etc., and so on until a candidate finally reaches quota, or in the case of two candidates being left, whoever is left with the most votes. We'll start this evening by announcing the results of the student priorities vote, and then we will move on to the full-time officers, starting with VP Academic Experience, followed by VP Student Engagement, VP Postgraduate Experience, VP Welfare and Community, and finally end by announcing your new Students' Union President. So to kick off, we will be starting with the student priorities, which hopefully everyone has been able to see and take part in the voting alongside the elections for the candidates. So if I just share my screen quickly for you. And hopefully you can all see this. So this is the student priorities votes. So what the student priorities are a series of issues that we're asking students to vote on to shape what the union should work on next academic year and what the officer team should work on. The issues that have been kind of put into these priority options are based on student feedback consulted on and analysed over the last couple of weeks and months. And we really wanted to identify and be truly student-led in what we do. And that's why we wanted to kind of change the approach we've taken this year so that the student priorities are what the officer team works on next year once they get into post. So as you can see on the screen, academic experience was one of the key themes, and the top two priorities chosen under each theme will become the 8 priorities for the union next year, and the priorities that the new officer team, once elected, will make a manifesto based on their objectives and their aims of what they could achieve in those areas. So for academic experience, as you can see, teaching quality and personal academic support were chosen as the top 2 areas in academic experience for the union to be working on. For wellbeing and community, mental health support and student safety were chosen. For your opportunities, job opportunities while studying and employability and career support were chosen as the top 2 options. And for your students' union, transparency in decision-making and costs on campus were the 2 most important issues for students for Kent Union to be working on next year as well. So this leaves us with the 8 top priorities for the next academic year. And these will be what Kent Union builds its campaign work around and officer work around next year. Once the full-time officers, once they've been elected this evening, start in position in July, they will receive training and sit down and work out how do they make progress and improve those 8 priority areas for your experience. And that's when they will release over the summer and into the next academic year, their manifesto, their Officer to Manifesto for the year, based on all the training, information and facts that they've been receiving, and they will receive from student feedback in how they can tackle these student priorities. So that is the student priorities. That is what we're going to leave it there on for the time being. I'm going to now temporarily pass back to KTV to continue their analysis and kind of insight into the elections process. And in about 10 minutes time, we will start off with the first announcement of an officer position for the position of VP Academic Experience. So I pass back over to the team at KTV.
Thank you so much. So what do you think of them, Angelina? Our priorities as students?
I 100% agree with everything that I've seen on the polls, especially transparency. You know, it can be quite hard to know what is actually going on in your student, union. And so transparency is really important when, making big decisions that do involve the students and, their future at Kent and their university experience as a whole. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think that it's such an important thing that students always know what's going on. I think transparency is so important. As a student yourself, you want to know what's going on. You want to even have a say in things. And I know, Amitesh, you've got a bit more information about this, if you'd like to hop in.
Yeah, no, very interesting that, that's what was chosen this year. I was very interested by the academic experience column and the teaching quality and the emphasis that was placed on that. I mean, of course, we as students are very kind of critical this year of the teaching quality that we've got. Some of us are saying it's not enough. Some of us are trying to find ways to cope with that. So I think student priorities of academic experience are something that I personally quite resonate with. We of course come here to university to study, and having issues of teaching is something that is definitely a really important matter for us, as was shown by the student priorities voting. Alejandro, do you think that there were any other interesting things in the student priorities that you found interesting?
Yeah, I think transparency especially is a big one. It's kind of come out with how well that the influencing pages on social media have been able to engage students to an extent that's far above even what the union can usually muster. I think that it will definitely be a big topic going into next year, is how the union can potentially harness that for greater inclusion of people who previously probably wouldn't on social media.
Yeah, no, totally. I think even student media couldn't get as much of a garnering as say some say different independent kind of groups did. So I think that that's something that we can most certainly see and work upon, and especially look at how the new sabbatical officer team concentrate on issues like transparency. Is it perhaps using student media a bit more? Is it perhaps changing tactic? Or is it talking to different experts who already do this, or are the unions who have more engagement and who look at ways to better that? But no, whatever the student priorities are, I'm pretty sure that the ones that have come out to be on the top are the ones that our newly elected sabbatical officer team would be able to 100% deliver on. And I'm very interested to see who those 5 are. Back to you, Rachel.
Yeah, I actually had another question for you, Amitesh. Obviously this year, by it being obviously us choosing the priorities rather than people giving manifestos, do you think as students we're going to get more out of our university experience now that we've been able to choose these priorities for our officers?
Yeah, no, 100%. Of course, it just strengthens the idea of the democracy even more. And I think, especially in a time where our voices are so difficult, to come across to things like, upper leadership and, to people in suits who make the decisions. I think it's I think it's a great touch that the union has gone with, student priority voting, which almost not only lets us choose who we think is the most suitable, but also let's just choose what they're running for. We won't have people, advocating for things that are clearly inachievable, as we have had, sometime last year. So I think that these changes and this introduction of student priorities will most certainly, make our student experience, more, fruitful, and that's of course the best for all of us.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that as a student, you feel a lot more like you've got a say in what's actually happening to you. I know, for example, I felt not heard this year because obviously I'm not going in and seeing my lecturers, and if I'm having a problem, you're having to wait for an email back, and it's that disconnect, isn't it? And I know the uni is trying so hard to make that connect stronger, and something like this is the first step to really make students feel again like they have a voice and they have a say in everything.
Yeah, it's also nice to see that mental health is up there on the list of priorities as well, because this year especially has really been quite damaging to some people's mental health. And, it's really important that as university students we are heard with things that we may be struggling with, and so that communication is really key. And the pandemic has made people feel isolated, not being able to go out and see each other, and a whole part of the university experience is actually being able to hang out with your friends, go to venue when you want to, and so all of that's kind of been taken away this year. So it is really nice to see that the focus on mental health is going to be there, and I think it's something that quite a lot of people actually do go through and struggle with, and so it's nice to also know that you're not alone in the fact that you want support with your mental health. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I totally agree with that, and I think that that's something that will be hopefully be implemented by whoever is the officers next year who come into the positions. So now we're going to go back to Tom, and he is going to give us the first set of results.
Thank you. So the first result of the night we're going to go to, and that is for the position of Vice President Academic Experience. So again, as I just share the screen with you.
First up, we have the results for the Vice President Academic Experience. Your candidates for this year are Lupe Soleil and Ellen Land. There were 1,523 votes cast for this role, so the candidates have to reach a quota of 761.5. Lupe received 780 votes, Ellen received 658 votes, and Ron received 85 votes. That means that your new Vice President Academic Experience is Lupe Soleil.
So massive congratulations to Lupe Soleil for being elected as the Vice President Academic Experience for the 2021-22 academic year. We're now going to pass back over to KTV and hopefully invite Lupe to join the call to give her winner's speech.
Yeah, so congratulations to Lupe for winning this VP Academic Experience. Lupe, are you there to join us? Hello? I think Lupe might be having some technical difficulties.
Yeah, sorry guys, I can't make it bigger. I'm too excited. Oh my god!
Congratulations! How do you feel?
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so happy. Oh my god, honestly. Oh,
are you feeling? How did you feel when your name was said?
Honestly, I just screamed. I was like, oh, come on, I need it. After all these weeks of campaigning, we all put so much hard work in. And it's amazing to see that the results are good and they're in my favor. So I'm so excited. I'm so happy. My phone's blowing up. All my friends back home are like watching it as well. And they're all texting the group chat, just going crazy. Like everyone's so excited. And I'm so happy, honestly.
Oh, Very well deserved as well. I really enjoyed your campaign as well. I noticed you're an international student, so you must have had, you know, the votes from those international students as well. How was your experience being an international student running for this campaign?
Well, this is something that I never expected to do as an international student, because first of all, I just didn't know this existed when I first applied to uni. So I never expected in a million years to be running a campaign and actually being elected. This is crazy. But I'm really excited. It was definitely something very different for me. I'm a shy person. I'm quite reserved, but I'm really talkative when I have to be. So I think I've learned so much just from campaigning, and yeah, I'm so happy and I'm so proud of to see that the work that I've done is actually reap the results that are in my favour.
Yeah, you've done so much work. Sorry, Rachel.
You said that one of the things you were passionate about was students' mental health and well-being, and about getting money's worth at university. So are these some of the things you're most excited to do when you actually start your role?
Yeah, absolutely. And when we see the student priorities and we see that mental health is so important, I completely relate to it. And first year, I had an awful time being away from home, having to spend Christmas for the first time away from my family. And if it hadn't been for mental health counselling and therapy, I don't know how I would have performed in my studies. I don't know how I would have developed at uni. I don't know if I would have gone back home, because I couldn't have taken, you know, the mental health kind of like deterioration of just being away from home and everything. So for me, that's incredibly important. And that's something that I'm definitely going to be working on, because even though academic experience tends to relate more to, you know, assignments and teaching quality and all of these things, there is no way you can perform properly academically if you're not doing well mentally. So that's definitely going to be something that I'm really excited to work on. And yeah, improving the teaching quality. You know, I feel like when it comes to getting our refunds, we've tried really hard and we unfortunately got a negative response. I would still push for our students to get some sort of refund or some money back, because, you know, it's clearly the education that we got this year is not worth what we have paid. And in the case that we can't get something that satisfies all students, the last thing that we can do is make sure that teaching quality is to the highest standard, which is what we all deserve. So yeah, those are two important things, super important.
Yeah, and it must feel so rewarding as well, because obviously you've just got the title of Vice President of the Academic Experiences, and you know, you put in so much hard work with all your tutoring and teaching. And so can you give us a little bit more in depth about that?
Yeah, so I did a lot of tutoring and teaching before I came to uni, and then when I came to uni, it was more of, you know, whenever my classmates or course mates had any problems, they would come to me, or they would consult with me, or send me their work, and I would be like, okay, these are some things that I would do. And I would just help them and tutor them in that way, because I feel like, well, from school, I kind of got a really good, I did kind of like a pre-university kind of diploma. So I had a good understanding of how to write essays and how to, you know, reach all the different targets that you need to reach when you're writing. So I feel like that's one way where I could really help my friends. And I feel like there's a lot of international students that might have done IB, which gives you super good training in this, and they might want to, you know, come forward and help other students in the writing and the essays. So yeah, that's, you know, very important, and I feel like it's key for students to support students. All the feedback and all the help that you can get when it comes from a peer, when it comes from someone that's on your same level, it's that much more easier to kind of like, for it to like sink in and to absorb all the information that you need to get. And it's kind of like a different approach, because you understand students when you're a student yourself, and you can really understand how to help them, and, you know, what's useful to them and what's not. So yeah, that's something that I also want to push for. Personal academic support coming from your peers, because that's really important.
And as a like fellow Medway student, and, you know, obviously Medway is obviously ignored a lot. You do feel as a Medway student that you are ignored quite a lot of the time when you go to the Medway campus. It is very far away from the Canterbury campus. So is that quite important to you as well, to make Medway students actually feel like Kent students and not like they're a separate whole university?
Yeah, super important. And actually, there's a lot of people that don't even know that Kent Union falls under, you know, people just see GKSU and that's it, but they don't understand that there's also KU. And this is why I'm so excited that there were so many Medway candidates running this year, because, you know, we're finally kind of getting a foot in and, you know, getting started. And hopefully for many years to come, there's going to be a lot more Medway students running to represent fellow Medway students in the leadership team at KU. And yeah, I feel like it's really important to get Medway students their representation, make sure that they know who their KU officers are, and make sure that the KU officers know Medway, that they also understand this campus and the students in this campus.
Yeah,
because it's really important.
Definitely. And I think that is something that I think a lot of Medway students are going to be celebrating tonight, because they will feel like they have that representation. And yeah, it's brilliant. Very
Thank you.
Great.
Well, thank you, Lupe, for joining us.
First Medway candidate. I can't believe it. Thank you so much, guys.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much, Lupe. And now we're going to move on to the next category. So if Tom would like to.
Thank you. So yeah, on to the next officer announcement. So the next position up to be announced is Vice President Student Engagement. So I will share the screen again and hopefully show you the results.
Next, we have the results for your Vice President.
Apologies, if you just bear with us for 2 seconds, it wouldn't be a Zoom results night without a slight technical issue.
Don't worry, it's quite difficult this year, obviously, doing everything virtually, and there are bound to be mistakes along the way, people unmuted or muted when they think they're not. So I think that just sums up this year, really. I don't know about you, but I've many times accidentally unmuted myself during lessons without actually realising. So
it can be quite embarrassing sometimes when you don't realise your camera's on or your mic's on, and you say something or you do something you don't mean to do. It's quite embarrassing, but yeah. I was just looking through the chat as well, and I noticed Lupe's dad actually congratulated her, so it's so nice to see that you're watching.
Yeah, thank you for watching, Lupe's dad. That's lovely. And also, yeah, if other people, you can actually put things in the chat throughout tonight if you want to congratulate anyone. We can see it as we go along and we're watching it. So yeah, definitely give us your congratulations to people as different results come along. Right, we're going to go back to Tom now because he's got the video ready for student engagement. Over to you, Tom.
Next, we have the results for your Vice President of Student Engagement. Your candidates for this year are Carolina van Eldik and Felicia Dean. There were 1,436 votes cast for this role, so candidates must hit a quota of 718. Carolina van Eldik received 876 votes, Felicia Dean received 488 votes, and Ron received 72 votes. That means that your new Vice President Student Engagement is Carolina van Eldik.
So, massive congratulations to Carolina on becoming your next VP Student Engagement for 2021-22. I will now pass back over to KTV and hopefully we will hear from Carolina.
Yeah, a massive congratulations to Carolina. She actually ran last year. And now, hello, Carolina. Welcome.
Hello.
Congratulations.
I'm so excited.
How do you feel? The moment's come. You're the VP Student Engagement.
really amazing, you know, considering this is the second time I've gone for it, and this time it paid off big time. And I'm really, really grateful for everyone who voted for me, for everyone who supported me and, you know, sent me lovely messages. It really means the world to me, and I'm so excited.
Oh, I'm so happy for you. I saw on a lot of places that you describe this as your dream job. And how does it feel essentially to have your dream job? Are you just over the moon?
Absolutely. You know, it means I get to stay at Kent another year, contribute to the student experience, make it better for everyone, but also, you know, win back a year of my life that I lost to COVID. And it's so wonderful. I'm so happy.
Well done. I think you're really well suited to the role as well. You said in your manifesto you were Team Kent's network chair. So you've already got that sort of foot in the door, the networking with the engagement to students. Is there any specific ways you've already thought of that you might engage with the students of Kent Uni?
Absolutely. I've been telling, you know, all the student groups that I've spoken to so far that the first thing for me is to build a good relationship with them. I feel like a lot of students have been neglected a bit this past year, and the way forward is to make their experience better next year by reaching out to them, showing them who they can talk to. If they have a problem, if they have something positive, I want to be there for them to make sure that, you know, they know what to do in case something happens, and that we have a positive relationship with each other that is mutually beneficial, because I want to make, you know, their experience the best it can be, and they surely want to help Kent Union run smoothly as well. So that's my first step.
Yeah, and I've definitely noticed through your social media campaign that you are very active on social media. You described once, I think, that you're always on your phone, and that if someone's got a problem, they will get an answer straight away. And as a student, for me, that's very reassuring, because you want to, if you've got an issue, you want that issue to be solved, and to have someone in the position who's trusted to do that, that means a lot as students. So how do you feel? Are you going to really follow through with that and be there to engage with students and with the union?
Absolutely. Like I said, at the end of the day, I'm literally on my phone 24/7. So if you think I'm ignoring you, I'm probably ignoring you. But I'm going to take that as a positive thing. You know, like if I get a notification, I want to be sure that, you know, people get responses right away, because the first barrier to any engagement really is a lack of communication and a lack of, you know, knowing what's happening. So I love meeting new people and talking to people and helping people. So if I can just improve the communication, I think it would solve a lot of other issues as well. So I'm definitely committed to that.
Yeah, I think it's also really important as well for first year students as well, that they've got that communication, because I know when I was a first year, I wasn't really a part of any of the chats, and, you know, I was kind of out of the loop on a lot of things. So it is sometimes hard to get that communication. And so it's really important that you are, you know, taking that step to be even more active on social media for the first years who have also, you know, missed a whole year of their life as well, who may not, you know, have anybody they're coming to uni with. And so, yeah, it's so nice to have like a friendly face that they can, you know, rely on.
Absolutely. And I hope to be that friendly face for many people. And I hope that all the student groups on campus are just as excited to work with me as I am to work with them.
And I've got a really important question for you. Are you going to wear yellow every day?
Okay. I'm not sure I have quite enough yellow pieces to last me the entire year, but I have some banging wellies. So every time it rains, I can promise to be wearing those to campus.
Yeah, I love the yellow eyeshadow you did as well in your campaign video. It was really nice.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Like TikTok as well, didn't you? Creating.
Oh my God. I felt like so cool. I'm not usually one to do stuff like that, but I thought I'd switch it up a little bit. You know, I'm all about trying new things, engaging people in ways that Kent Union hasn't done before. And I think it worked out well. I mean, I'm here now, so it must have gone over well to students.
Well, amazing. Thank you so much for joining us, Carolina, and congratulations again. Go and celebrate, and yeah, have a great day. And thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you again.
Okay, brilliant. So now we're going to be joined by Eddie, who's going to give us a bit more analysis of the results so far and of the elections. Hello, Eddie.
Hi there. So yeah, I'm going to quickly talk to you about what's happening. So talking about analysis of the previous two results, but obviously minus the statistical oversight that we've had with Amitesh and Alejandro. Many props to them too, by the way, for providing such an in-depth analysis statistically regarding the candidate races. So I'm going to be talking more from a standpoint, since a more personal standpoint, considering that I've moderated for both academic experience and student engagement. So my viewpoint and the takes from this are that with student engagement, I personally think there was a bit of a clear winner, but I do think Felicia did have a chance to serve as the underdog, so to speak. She did offer quite a strong campaign. I do also think that equally with Carolina, that she was, I would argue, very open and very clear with her transparency. And I do think both candidates do deserve the role in the end, but I do think that it was quite clear that Carolina was going to be the front runner for the student engagement race, judging by the way that she interacted with her social media campaigns, the way she conducted herself in the debates, and the way that she was clear in highlighting all her manifesto points. Academic experience was, I personally think, was a much more tighter call. Some of the exit polls suggested some candidates, others suggested others. I personally think it was quite tight. I also think, so obviously with Ellen, she obviously stood on a lot of policies regarding tuition fees and supporting students through academic support. With Lupe, obviously there's a big hefty focus with Medway representation and inclusion as well. I also think with Lupe's appointment into the academic experience role, I also think elevates that Medway representation to a full-time officer role. So I do think that with Lupe's appointment, that Medway is less likely to be neglected and is going to perhaps maybe become a bit more a focus point. And this is not a criticism against the union. It's just sometimes a lot of these issues that present itself, sometimes Canterbury often does get thrown to the forefront where all these issues are present. It is just by a fault. It's just by how things are and how everything works. But yeah, those are my takes on this as well. Obviously, with the next races as well, with postgrad, with welfare, and with presidential, I do think there are some clear front runners there as well. So I'm going to hand over back to you.
Yeah, I totally agree with what you were saying, Eddie. Like, as we said before, I do think the Medway thing really needs to be pushed now. I think that Medway is just as important as the Canterbury campus, and to have representation for Medway students is so important, and even more important now when everybody's so isolated and not all on campuses. Everybody needs to come together, and we are one university, so they should have that same representation that you'd have when you're living in Canterbury. So yeah, I think it's really great. What do you think, Angelina?
Yeah, definitely the integration of, both Medway campus and Canterbury campus is really important, because I mean, for me, I'm obviously on the Kent Uni campus, and I don't really have that many friends or peers that are from the Medway campus, and I think there's something to be said about that. Just because we do different degrees doesn't mean we can't all be like united in that sense.
Yeah, definitely agree, because I do my master's at Medway and I live in Canterbury, but going to the campus when I can, it's almost like I'm going to another university. I don't feel like I'm at the same place anymore. So I think bringing them together will be great, because I'd never been before this year. So it's going to be interesting to see how Lupe can bring that and create that difference. And then going back to Carolina, I think that's great that after campaigning last year, she's really got the vote this year, and it's great to see how if you really try for something, you can actually achieve it. And I think it is a sign for all students out there. You might not get something the first time, but keep trying. It doesn't necessarily mean you're not good for the job or anything. It just means it maybe wasn't the right time, and now it is the right time. And I just think, like she said, now she's possibly going to be there for a non-COVID year, whereas if she'd won last year, she would have been there for a COVID year. So
yeah, I think also one thing that's also worth interesting as well with student engagement, I think for both candidates as well, I think they've both hammered in and really focused on how much societies have struggled. And I do think that both candidates really took students' concerns into consideration as well. I know that Rachel, for yourself, you were part of Kent Cheer, same with you, Angelina, and obviously, and so obviously there's been a lot of concerns regarding to sporting societies with the lack of access to facilities as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I think to have that representation for sports and for media, because we're part of both, it's so important. It's great to know that it's somebody who's really cares and who is going to be there to help us when you need a problem. So yeah, great. We're going to go back to Tom for the next announcement of results.
Thank you. So yes, the next position to be announced is Vice President of Postgraduate Experience. So we shall move on to the results.
Now we have the results for Vice President Postgraduate Experience. Your candidates for this year are Toby Temple Oberemo, Nellie Luckett, Achana Ganisalingam, and Laura O'Callaghan. There were 1,393 votes cast for this role, meaning candidates need to hit a quota of 696.5. Toby Temple received 599 votes, Nellie received 317 votes, Achana received 149 votes, Laura received 247 votes, and Ron received 81 votes. Unfortunately, that means that Achana is eliminated along with Ron. With no candidates hitting the threshold in round 1, votes will be redistributed, and in round 2, the new quota is lowered to 641.5. So in round 2, Toby Temple received 658 votes, Nellie received 352 votes, and Laura received 273 votes. Toby Temple has hit the threshold, and so your new VP Postgraduate Experience is Toby Temple Oberemo.
So massive congratulations to Toby for being elected as your next VP Postgraduate Experience. Hopefully, we should now be passing back over to KTV, and hopefully Toby will be invited to join them.
Massive congratulations, Toby. You have done amazingly well to win that. That was against a few different people. Oh, I think you're joining. There were loads of different great candidates, weren't there, Angelina? So that was quite a tough fight, wasn't it?
Yeah, you did really well to go up against so many really good people in that competition, actually. Are you there with us yet, Toby? No? Some technical issues, maybe. Probably just joining the audio.
Yeah. I mean, congratulations to Toby, and also well done to all the other people who went for it, because it was oh, hello, Toby. Congratulations.
Congratulations, well done.
How do you feel?
It's been an amazing few days with the election and everything. But it's great. It was an amazing experience. I'm so happy that I got elected, and I'm looking forward to representing the postgraduate and the university body. Yeah, it's amazing.
Definitely, yeah, well done. So in your campaign, you actually said that you founded your own society while you was a student at Kent. Can you tell us more about that? What was the society?
Yeah, so it was called BLW. So I founded it my first year at 2016. So it's like a faith-based society, and we had a number of events on a monthly basis, just engaging different students. So some of them ranged from success, motivational seminars. Others ranged from, we actually had one called Sex Education. So really educating people about the importance of that area and consent. And so we had just different various programs that we held there. And it was really a great 3 years to be the president. I learned so much from society.
Amazing. And I suppose you can link all of that to your new role as postgrad experience vice president. You can link all of that, you know, everything that you've learned being the president of your own society, you can translate that to your new role. What do you think about the society, Rachel, as we're also a part of a society?
Yeah, no, I think it sounds great. And to be a president for 3 years and to really give help to different people and to actually create a difference shows that you actually care about people. And you've also mentioned that you're an aspiring lawyer. So this is obviously first step to actually getting out into the working world and to take that a step further. So is that also a reason why you're excited for the new role, to be able to actually use some of the things that you're wanting to use in the future? Oh, I think we may have just lost Toby. Okay. Hopefully Toby will be able to join us back in a moment, but Amitesh from KTV is actually here with us and he could analyse a few more about what we just saw.
Right, thank you so much, Rachel. Congratulations. Oh, Toby's back with us again.
Sorry about that.
No, that's totally fine. Hi, Toby. I'm Hitesh here from KTV. What do you think? What are you feeling right now, especially with with COVID here, and you aren't able to celebrate usually in venue, you would, but this time you're wherever you are, kind of not maybe at home or wherever you are. Do you think there's a difference? Do you think venue would have possibly made it a bit better this time?
Like you said, it's like my first time running, so I've never really had that experience of, I guess, the normalized experience many candidates in the past had. But it was a bit different, of course, being online and adapting to that environment. In terms of how I'm feeling, definitely excited. I was quite nervous, especially looking at the polls earlier by Inquire. So it was quite a tight race according to the polls. But I'm really glad that I eventually got through to win and to be elected. And I'm excited to really, after some of the advices and the suggestions I had from different societies I spoke to, so various presidents and committees of various societies, I'm really excited to take on what I heard from them and their suggestions and their concerns into my role and my position, to bring about some change and to build on what's already been done. Yeah.
Amazing. And obviously you're really well acquainted with all the students, so easing into the role shouldn't be too hard for you at all.
Yeah, definitely. I've been in Kent for just over 4 years now. So Kent is like home for me. I normally say that I love Kent, the area of Kent, and I really want to live here even beyond my studies. So yeah, it's definitely home and well acquainted with the students and the culture and life in Kent. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Toby, and massive congratulations again. So excited to see what you do next year, and have an amazing evening celebrating.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
That's all right.
Well done.
And so back to you, Amitesh, to give a bit more of an analysis around what we've just seen.
Right, thank you so much, Rachel. Exciting times. Usually, it happens that sometimes exit polls are not as accurate as the actual result. As we saw in academic experience, Ron and the weightage that Ron were kind of given this time, that of course kind of was shown to fall back with Lupe taking the vote, as well as for student engagement, where in the first round itself, Carolina's vote was off the charts when it came to the actual nailing down of the quota and how much her votes were assigned. In general, that's I guess the kind of things that elections do. You just end up kind of understanding just how important the whole notion of statistics and things like that can be when looking at elections. And that's something that we don't particularly kind of concentrate on. It's usually about the campaign and things like that, but the amount of behind the scenes work that actually goes in to elections is particularly important, which is why I'd just like to take this opportunity to shout out Kent Union once more, just because of the work that they've done to make sure that elections are happening, and with still trying to provide exact figures on who's being voted, despite the difficulties that come with being furloughed, with not being in tune with how to run elections and results nights. I think that the effort until now is a massive payoff, just showing us how productive people can be even in troubling times like these.
Yeah, definitely.
It's also nice to think as well that the people that are voting aren't just a statistic, they're the people that are backing you. And it's nice to be able to see like visually the amount of people that are supporting you in what you believe. And it's just obviously quite refreshing and really helpful to like guide you on which direction you want to go in as well. Because they're not just a statistic, they are the people as well. And I think that's really important. And also a really big thank you to everyone who has voted, because it's just made a bunch of people's dreams come true.
Yeah, and also I want to say as well to Kent Union, when I actually saw that the votes were happening this year, I was shocked. I thought, how are they going to do it online? It's just not going to work. And it's happened basically the same as last year. I feel like I've gotten enough information out of all the candidates. If anything, I felt more invested this year. So I think big thank you to Kent Union for all of that and going above and beyond to actually make this as close as it can be to what it would normally be if we were in venue right now and celebrating in venue as we would be normally. Have you got any more analysis, Amethyst, just generally on the further results that we're having later, and just what any trends that we're seeing so far?
I mean, of course, moving on to kind of discussing about the next two positions, the next three positions, the next two, I believe. Yes, so sorry for that. But these positions are very tight. Especially, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people are looking at the next kind of one of the more important, not that any of them aren't, but one of the ones that's been talked about a lot, that is of course the presidential election, which has been the subject of a lot of media coverage and a lot of different controversy and things like that, and that's something that happens every time. The presidential elections, I've been chairing the debate for the past 2 years, and there's always a lot of back and forth that goes on in those debates. So I think that we do save the best, the kind of most talked about for last every time. President is usually allowed, given kind of the last one to be announced, but not to say that the other ones aren't important. Every single position contributes to a very significant part of our student experience here. I know that in times I have talked to Aisha as welfare and community, and there are times where people I know have contacted Vicky for academic experience and their kind of experience with it, and that goes same for this year contacting Aldo. I think that everybody needs to kind of interact with these officers more, but one of the things that we didn't expect this year, or at least something that I found quite shocking, was the voting turnout, which sits currently around at 9.5 to maybe around 10%, which assuming a natural, like a regular student body of 20,000 people. Alejandro, if you're still with us, what do you think of the turnout for this year?
So it is a bit lower than last year. I believe last year it was around 12 to 13%. But when you're taking into account the fact that everyone is doing this from online, and most of the sort of coverage and information about the Kent Union elections has come from very specific parts of social media, for instance, it is still quite a promising turnout, especially with how much coverage there actually has been and how many individual students have got engaged who aren't kind of running for a position specifically.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Especially looking at, yep.
Sorry, you continue.
No, it's all right. Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say how I was surprised how high the voting turnout was, because last year we were being enticed by donuts and freebies to go and vote. Woody's, I think, gave you some sort of card of a drink or something if you went. And this year there was nothing enticing people to come in, and you only had one day, whereas normally you have a few days to vote. So I think all things considered, it's actually a pretty impressive turnout considering. What do you think, Angelina?
Yeah, definitely. And I think also the fact that there couldn't really be anything in person campaign wise, I think the fact that people have gone out of their way, you know, to vote online just really shows the amount of support that people have for the people that are up for the roles. And I think that it's really, really quite nice to see that everybody is kind of getting engaged, even if it is only, you know, 10% of the Kent Uni students. That's still 10% of people who are super engaged and, you know, are really fighting for the people that they want at the front.
Yeah, and especially because people had to actually go and find the information themselves on Instagram or on, you know, through emails, whereas normally you'd walk past it and see and think, oh, I'll just walk into venue quickly then and vote. Whereas people have actually gone out of their way to give their opinions. Do you, Amitesh, think that is maybe because of COVID and people are actually seeing there's a lot of things that need to be changed and stuff? What do you think?
I think that, you know, it shows that, you know, while there is a lot of interest from students for this year, especially, you know, because you're absolutely right. Last time there were incentives to go and vote, you know, sometimes at venue, sometimes at campus. But now I think that especially because of COVID, it's shown that, you know, moving campaigns online, or even if next year kind of having a blend of you know, online and physical campaigning, both of which you know, can now be treated as equal fronts. As we saw this year, we got a similar voting turnout, but with only online campaigning. If combined with physical campaigning for the future years, I'm pretty sure that it'll lead to some very incredible voting turnouts that I'm sure we're, you know, yet to achieve. I don't think it's particularly fair to combine to, you know, compare last year's voting turnout with this year, only because you know, the voting turnout was influenced by things like you know, a 5-day voting instead of a single day voting, and, you know, online versus you know, physical and online. So I think that, you know, while you know, we certainly know that there is work to be done, I think that this should be considered some sort of an achievement as well. A brief kind of stat list on how people voted and from where people voted this time. In terms of schools, the Kent and Medway Medical School has one of the highest voting turnouts at 32%. Following on, the Center of American Studies is pretty high, the School of History and the School of Anthropology and Conservation, as well as the Center for Journalism has voted quite high as well. All 12% of the students that have voted are third years. So third years are the people who are voting the most, followed on by second, followed on by fourth, and then first years, of course. Moving on to kind of sports teams, congratulations to the University of Kent Polo Club for 100% voting turnout. Every single person voted, which was very cool. And that's similar for societies like the Eurosoc, the Singapore Society, and the 93% Club, all of whom have got 100% voting. And that is exactly the kind of precedent these societies set for the rest of the societies as well. Every society should have 100% voting turnout. And that would make, you know, for all of our voices to be represented, all of our voices to be heard in a democracy that is bound for success. And that's kind of all from me for now. But I would just like to say congratulations to, you know, all the other candidates that, you know, have got this far, and congratulations to the ones that have been elected to be in the Mandela Building to serve all of us. Back to you, Rachel.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Amitesh. I was wondering if maybe, Eddie, you'd like to add anything to that discussion that we've just had about the results that have come through.
Yes, I would like to offer a couple of things as well. So obviously, with stuff like postgrad, for example, it's one I want to really focus on, considering you and I, Rachel, we come from that postgraduate background. I do personally think that the role of postgraduate experience is one that I do think is a role that not necessarily as hotly contested, but I do think it's one that probably needs more, if that makes sense. In previous years, the postgrad role has had a mix of whoever runs for that position. Obviously, last year we only had one person run for the PG role, and that was Patrick Stillman. Obviously, again, I do think that it's a role that obviously sometimes brings a bit of contention, sometimes it brings a lot of positives as well when it comes to supporting postgraduate students. And for the other two roles as well, student engagement and academic experience, again, these are positions that are now re-engaging and gradually reaffirming more towards the student voice as well. The next two positions as well, welfare and president as well, again, positions that really do focus on the students, and obviously this year more than ever with the student priorities, they're geared as well. President, most notably, I think, like Amitesh said, attracts a lot of attention, attracts the occasional controversy as well. But I do think that this year, candidates that have been running for each race has been more and more reflective of what students want. And back to you, Rachel and Angelina.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Eddie. And now we're going to go back to Tom, who's going to give us the next results.
Thank you, KTV. So the next result will be announced for the position of Vice President, Welfare and Community. So I will share the results and hope you enjoy.
Now for the results for Vice President, Welfare and Community. Your candidates for this year are Samuel Whitnell, Favour Salami, Saskia Jenkins, Thomas Freeston and Mohammed Abdullah. There were 1,515 votes cast for this role, which means candidates must reach a quota of 757.5. Samuel received 102 votes, Favour received 546 votes, Saskia received 215 votes, Thomas received 323 votes, Mohammed received 273 votes, and received 56 votes. Sadly, this means we say goodbye to Samuel and to Ron and move on to round 2. With nobody reaching the threshold, votes are redistributed and the quota is lowered to 721. So in round 2, Favour received 559 votes, Saskia received 238 votes, Thomas received 357 votes, and Mohammed received 288 votes. So we now say goodbye to Saskia and move on to round 3. Once again, with no candidate reaching the threshold, votes are redistributed and we have a new quota of 679. So in round 3, Favour received 627 votes, Thomas received 415 votes, and Mohammed received 316 votes. That means we say goodbye to Mohammed and move on to the 4th and final round for this role. So with just 2 candidates left, we move on to round 4 with a new quota of 620.5. So in round 4, Favour received 746 votes, and Thomas received 495 votes. And that means that your new Vice President, Welfare and Community is Favour Salami.
So massive congratulations to Favour for being elected to the next Vice President, Welfare and Community. I'm going to pass back over to KTV and hopefully now hear from your new Vice President, Welfare and Community, Favour.
Amazing, well done, Favour. Big congratulations to you.
Huge congratulations.
Hi.
Oh, hello, have you joined us? Congratulations! How do you feel?
That elimination process was brutal.
It was so tense. I was like, oh my God.
I was looking, okay, eliminate. I was thinking, wow, like, I know when we were first starting out and Tom was explaining how elections work with the voting, I was like, oh, it's not gonna be like straightforward. So no one's gonna be eliminated. It's just fine. And then eliminated round 1, round 2. I was like, ooh. But I'm so ecstatic and grateful for everyone that voted, especially for my campaign team as well. They did amazing. They really pulled through. So I know they're watching. So thank you so much, guys. And I'm chuffed. I'm so excited. I'm ready as well. So yeah, I'm kind of lost for words, but yeah.
I bet you can't wait to get into the role and like really take over and implement the things that you're so passionate about. Is there anything in particular that you think you're going to start with in terms of your new role?
I think number 1 would definitely be mental health, because it's something that was quite common across the different election nominees and categories, and yeah, so probably mental health would be the first one I'd go for. Whilst on the side, probably looking at the job opportunities, because many were quite interested in that being, I guess, a unique selling point of mine, because it wasn't something that was quite common with the other candidates as well. So yeah.
And you also mentioned about safety in Canterbury, and obviously that is so important. So what kind of things are you planning to implement or try and implement once you're in the role?
I think firstly, we'd have to review the current structures we have in place at the university, like what is in place, what can we actually improve what they have initially, and then I'd like to work with companies off campus as well. For example, there's nightlife as well. What's happening off campus? Because most of the things that happen aren't actually on campus. From my research, was actually off campus. So collaborating with on and off campus, I'd start with that. Yeah.
Definitely, that will make it a much safer place for everyone at the uni, especially when things do go back to normal and we can go out to clubs and bars again. I think that's really quite important that you are looking into, the Canterbury city centre, because a lot of people do go out in the city centre, and it's all really well and good, like having the security on campus, but like you said, there does need to be something in place for when people aren't on campus, and I think that's really amazing of you.
Yeah, I also think, even as you touched on Canterbury Town Centre, of course there's Medway students, right? And looking into like Maidstone, Gillingham, Chatham, those kind of areas, like what is the safety like there? What is like the crime rate and the rate that students do not feel safe? Like we need to look into that on both campuses also. So, yeah.
And you've also mentioned within your kind of points that you want everybody's voices to be heard. So what do you think you're first going to do to try and make sure that happens next year?
First of all, listen. Like, I know it's simple and really like straightforward, but actually listen to what students want. I think what's been happening in the past is that officers, of no fault of their own, they've assumed what students would like. But I actually want to hear from the students, what do you want to see on your campus? It's your campus, you are paying for your studies, so you need to get the best out of it. So I think somewhat getting some primary information from the students, collating it, and then working accordingly. But I guess that's already been done with the student priorities, so that kind of ticks half my job.
And how do you feel now tonight? Did you expect this to happen when they said your name at the end? How did you feel?
I was like, oh, okay. I was like, oh, all right, okay. I would say that you don't go into something expecting to lose, right? So for me, it was kind of like, I'm going in and I'm going to win, and I don't think that's a bad thing to say, so I had it on my mind that I'm going because I want to win. I wouldn't go just to see how it is. Like, I wanted to pull through, and I'm so grateful that I did. So yeah.
Exactly, and I'm a big believer as well in like manifesting what you want for yourself, the law of attraction, bringing it all to you. So I guess there must have been some sort of element in that as well, when you've got that big strong personality, not giving up, and you're manifesting the energy that comes to you. And I think that I'm really excited to see what you do with your new role. Are you nervous at all?
I think this is the most nerves you can get in terms of this whole campaign. But I think from now, it's just being bold, because students need a bold voice. They need someone who's going to be strong, even if it's something that, they may suggest something like, okay, I'm not sure the uni's going to go about it, but I'll present it because that's what they want. And that's what I'm going for, boldness throughout. So no, nerves are not a thing for me. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much. Do you have anything else you'd like to say to anyone in the interview?
I'd like to thank, of course, everyone that voted as well, everyone that supported my campaign on my Instagram as well, my campaign team. And a special thank you for Tom. He did an amazing job, you know, from the beginning. He had a question, he'd answer it. And I'm so grateful for everyone, really. But Tom stood out to me. So, yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And we're going to have a lovely evening celebrating. We'll talk to you again in a bit. Amitesh, are you there to join us again to just give us a bit of an analysis on what we've just seen happen?
Absolutely. Elections are a funny thing, especially when you have this kind of a voting system where we slowly eliminate one by one and the tension just keeps on rising. A very, very close contest this time. Congratulations to all the other candidates for, having their online campaigns and setting them up for this year, not only for PB welfare, but all the other ones as well. But that, of course, leaves us with only one more category, one more position, that is the Kent Union President. How important do you think the Kent Union President is? Alejandro, if you're still there with us, what does their role entail, and what can we see the Kent Union President do?
Yes, well, I believe the role is kind of more of a sort of catch-all term for many different aspects. I think this year especially, it's shown that the role is incredibly versatile. Generally, it's kind of providing support for all of the other officers in their specific areas. So generally, it's more about keeping a team together, I would say, leadership, and then also being that voice at the top of Kent Union as being sort of a spokesperson for the entire organisation and sort of a front for students as well, and attending a lot of high-profile events on campus.
Yeah. That just goes on to show how important the position of the president is. And we have five candidates, all of whom, have their own kind of vision, but of course will be guided by the student priorities, which are all, incredibly important and are set by us. Just to remind people of the Inquire exit poll, which people can go check out at Inquire's Instagram at Inquire Kent. The presidential poll reads a bit something like this. Aisha Dosanjh stands currently predicted at 34.8%, followed on by Samir at 31%, following on by Zaid at 16%. Then we've got Rian at 10.9%. Lastly, there's then there's Ron, and then there's Tolu at 4.3 and 2.2 respectively. So we have a tight race, I would say, and of course, as we know, these exit polls can go wrong. But I guess the bottom line is still that we need to kind of just get on, and for future years need to kind of build up that engagement and have more than 9.5% people voting. But I guess kind of let's broaden it out a bit. How has the elections time, and especially kind of this experience, I would like to ask Rachel and Angelina, how has that been presenting? Instead of being in front of cameras and stuff, you're in front of your own laptop or device or whatever you're on.
Yeah, it's very strange, I must admit. Compared to last year, I remember we were in the studio and we had the people coming up, celebrating. We had free pizza. It was great. And everyone was coming up and joining us on the sofas. Social distancing wasn't even a thing yet. Now I couldn't imagine sitting on a sofa with random people. But I think it's still as nice because you're still getting that experience of talking to people, and it's better than just posting online somewhere. It gives the people who've worked so hard on these elections a chance to actually celebrate and be celebrated. What do you think, Angelina?
Yeah, I think it's been orchestrated really well. This is my first time presenting the elections, and so I don't have anything to compare it to. Obviously, I did watch the elections last year, and I watched you, Rachel, and you were great. No, so I think that it's worked quite well, actually, with, the whole PowerPoint sharing. It's quite nice for us as well, because obviously we get to watch it live with everybody else. And yeah, I think it also gives everybody a fair chance, like you said, to express how they're feeling about winning, because obviously it can come across sometimes on Zoom as, I don't want to participate, but you get the people that do want to be here and they do want to listen. And we get people commenting as well. Like, I guess in the live shows, you can't really get people commenting, and I've been looking through the comments actually in the chat section, and it's quite interesting to see people's opinions as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. Zoom with itself brings like a whole new kind of level of engagement where you can of course go to venue and view it there, but you could also kind of view it and interact with it, and do things like change the way you see people, from maybe a speaker view to a gallery view. And while it might not sound very engaging or enticing, I think it kind of brings forward a time for a new era of results night and campaigning in general, where we kind of learn how to blend technology efficiently, of course, in our lives to ensure that we as KTV, Inquire as the student media group, CSR as the radio, and Kent Union as our students union, this is the new way of engaging, irrespective of COVID or not. So I think that this whole kind of night, if not anything else, is at least a kind of a grand message to kind of students, to people who are working with students, and in general to anybody who's kind of trying to run live events and try to engage, that this is the time to move on to a digital frontier and try to embrace it more. And I'm very excited to see what that will bring in the future years of Kent Union, KTV, and student media in general. I will now move on back to Tom, who I believe is ready for the Kent Union presidential results. Everybody's excited, Tom.
Thanks, KTV. So the final position to be announced is obviously the big one, Kent Union president for the 2021-22 academic year. So let's get underway with the results.
Last but certainly not least, we have the results for the Student Union President. Your candidates for this year are Tolu Shimoye, Rian Shilabir, Samir Reza Sadeghi, Zaid Mahmood, and Aisha Dosanjh. There were 1,746 votes cast for the Student Union President role, so candidates have to hit a quota of 873. Tolu received 380 votes, Rian received 352 votes, Samir received 109 votes, Zaid received 233 votes, Aisha received 634 votes, and Ron received 38 votes. That means we say goodbye to Samir and to Ron and move on to round 2. So with no candidate meeting the threshold so far, we move on to round 2 with a new quota of 841. In round 2, Tolu received 410 votes, Rian received 372 votes, Zaid received 248 votes, and Aisha received 652 votes. So sadly we say goodbye to Zaid and move on to round 3. Votes have once again been redistributed for round 3, and we have a new quota of 789. And so in round 3, Tolu received 451 votes, Rian received 411 votes, and Aisha received 716 votes. That means we say goodbye to Rian and move on to the 4th and final round in this election for the Student Union President. With our final 2 candidates racing towards the finish line, we move on to round 4 with a new quota of 719.5. In the final round, Tolu received 561 votes and Aisha received 878 votes, making Aisha Dosanjh your new Student Union President.
So massive congratulations there to Aisha for being elected the Students' Union President for 21-22. Before I pass over and call Aisha to be interviewed by KTV, just want to take this opportunity to say a massive thank you to KTV for hosting this evening and the amazing analysis and insight they've been able to provide and the interviews with the candidates. We'd also like to thank all of the candidates in this year's election who have done an amazing job in very difficult circumstances, in very challenging kind of campaigns only on social media online. And we think all candidates did an incredible job and should be very proud of the results. Obviously, that means we have our final elected officer team for the next academic year. So I'd just like to show you your next academic year officer team for the first time all together as follows. We obviously have Lupe Soleil as VP Academic Experience, Aisha Desange as Students' Union President, Carolina Van Eldick as VP Student Engagement, Favor Salami as VP Welfare and Community, and Toby Temple Abarima as VP Postgraduate Experience. So a massive congratulations to the officer team for the next academic year, and a massive thank you to everyone involved with the elections. From now, I'm going to pass you back over to KTV and invite Aisha to join the call for an interview. Shortly after this, we'll invite all candidates and all winning candidates to be joined for an interview as a team for the first time. So thank you again, all candidates, and thank you again to KTV.
Well, congratulations.
Congratulations, how do you feel? We're so happy for you.
Thank you so much. I'm over the moon. I think it was really sad to see people get taken out of the running. I think what was really hard about this year is that because a lot of the candidates are really born and bred out of COVID, they were very passionate. And I think that's probably the saddest part, is that we can't all be part of the officer team. But I'm very excited. It hasn't quite sunk in yet, I think.
I've seen what you've done this year and how much passion you've put into the role that you've already got. And to know that you're going to be there to represent students another year, for me personally, and probably Angeline, like, we know you and know you're such a genuine, you love what you do, and to know you're going to be there another year, for us, it's just great. So how do you feel about the fact that you get to stay and actually go up in the rankings and be the actual president next year?
It's very exciting. I think Toby said this earlier, but Kent is my home. It's amazing to be able to stay here for just a little bit longer, and also just carry on with some of the things that I've been working on. I think what's kind of filled me with confidence is that despite how exhausting this year has been, and will continue to be until lockdown is kind of lifted, hopefully in June, fingers crossed, is that people really do feel like my work has been impactful and want me to continue doing that work. And so that's really filled me with confidence, where sometimes lockdown has kind of impacted my health and well-being, and where perhaps I'm not thinking that I'm doing very well, and it's really good to know that people do think I'm doing a good job and want to see me continue doing that.
Definitely. And something as well that I noticed in your campaign is, a lot of what you were campaigning for is quite popular amongst other like competitors, but I did notice that you wanted to sort out kind of like a rent rebate for people that are off like private accommodations, and that's not something that I've seen. And for me personally, I do live in a private rented accommodation, and there's not really been much help or guidance for people like us who aren't necessarily getting the help from the university directly. And so I just wanted to say what your thoughts are and where you're going to start with that, if you are still continuing that idea.
Absolutely. I'm very pleased to announce that the vice chancellors for both Kent and Christchurch have now signed a letter to private renters in Canterbury, and so that's very much something that's happening now, instead of having to wait until July for some of those things. And I think probably the best part about the election campaign is that I've been able to talk to students where they're a little bit more confident in voicing their opinions to try and get candidates on board, where I can say, hi, like, I'd really like to talk to you about some of your concerns and opinions, and even if I don't get elected, it's something I can work on in the next few months. And I think that's probably been a massive advantage to me, in that I have been speaking to students, I do know what they want, and so trying to get those minority students on board as well, and make sure that every single student is able to access what we do and get involved, I think is really exciting. I'm quite surprised that the opportunities to get involved in Kent Union wasn't one of the biggest student priorities. That was definitely something I was voting for. but it's really good to see that lots of people want to get involved in decision making at the union level.
Definitely. Yeah, that's really interesting as well that you mention, like minority groups as well, because you are doing such a big focus on representation within the uni, focusing on, people who may feel like they don't have much of a voice, also like BAME and everything like that. So I just want to say I'm super proud of everything that you're doing, and I think you're doing a great job. Rachel, any thoughts?
Yeah, me too. I mean, I personally just think you've done amazing. Big fan of your work you've done this year. And I want to know, when you first go in next year, hopefully in person and not online, what is the first thing that you want to do as Kent Union Students' Union President?
I think probably the first thing I want to do is kind of help the other officer team. I think it's been really difficult this year to engage with students, and I think we will be going into the role just a couple of weeks after lockdown will be lifted. And so that's a really very overwhelming time as well, particularly where I feel like I haven't seen anyone for the last year, really. I think it will probably be orientating myself and getting to know the team, really.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, and congratulations again.
Yeah, congratulations.
Over the moon for you. And I'd now like to invite Amitesh back, who is going to announce what we're doing next.
Right, thank you so much, Rachel, and congratulations, Aisha. I would now like to invite all of the winning candidates, that Lupe, Favor, Caroline, and Toby, all to please put your mics on, put your cameras on, and why don't we have a chat? Congratulations once more to everybody who's won in these times, especially in these times. Cameras are slowly starting to come on. Just waiting on Toby and Favor, but just once more would like to say congratulations to all of you for making sure that the next officers at Kent Union are talented, dynamic, and exactly what we need to take the union ahead and take it to new heights. Of course, yes, we're starting to see people back on. Welcome once more. I believe one of my first questions, I'd like to ask all of the winning candidates is, how do we go from here? And kind of what's the direction that people or kind of you would like to take, especially now that you know about the student priorities, and of course rebuilding with the damage that COVID has done. Would anybody like to take a head start on that?
Yeah, I can start if you'd like me to.
Sure.
I was going to say the fact that transparency and communication is so important really shows that that's the main direction that we should take, regardless of what we're doing. We should be communicating with students in the clearest, most effective way to make sure that everyone knows what's going on and that they're all informed of what's happening in campus, the policies that are being lobbied for, the stuff that we're working on, the projects that we have, the campaigns that societies are running. I think communication is an incredibly important thing, and it should be one of our main priorities for every single officer this year, to improve communication and make sure that the resources, the support, the campaigns, the messages, they all reach the students, and particularly the students that are hardest to reach. Those are the ones that we really need to focus on.
Thank you so much. Caroline, what do you think is the best kind of direction that you will take regarding student engagement, the new student priorities, and rebuilding after COVID?
So a big thing for me is actually to regain, the trust and respect from the students. I feel like they've all been neglected a little bit this year with everything that's been going on. I think that's a shame, especially because I feel like a lot of people probably did want more support and more help and more recognition for all the things that were going well. So going forward, I'd like to, speak to as many committees as possible, show them that I am their point of contact, that if they have problems or positive things, they can come to me and I can, help them enjoy working with Kent Union. I want people to bond over the fact that we're all having a good time together, instead of the fact that we're a little bit frustrated from time to time. So I think that will most certainly be a great step towards transparency as well, just making sure that I'm available. I'm not just some random figurehead who supposedly represents students. Like, at the same time, I'm literally just one of them. Right now I'm still a committee member, I'm still a student, and I don't think that being in this job next year is going to change who I am necessarily. So I think it's really important for people to know that.
Right, thank you so much. Toby, could you just give us a bit of an insight into, what particular postgraduate issues would you like to see, worked on in your time as VP Postgraduate?
Thank you so much. I think before, before the election day, I was having a conversation with Pat, and I think one of the biggest challenges he expressed was disengagement with postgraduate students, because there's a vast range of postgraduate students, and they're all going through different challenges. So in comparison to undergrad, they pretty much have like a focused issues, which is not so diverse. With postgrad, it's a totally different ballgame. So I think the biggest challenge was really this disengagement, and of course that was made worse by the COVID situation, etc. So I think really engaging the disengaged postgraduate students, letting them know they can have that communication line with the SU, and letting them know of the different things we're doing to help them with the various issues, rather than thinking the SU is not for them and it's just for undergrads. So I think engagement is pretty much the biggest issue. And I think if that's solved, a number of the other issues will also be solved. Yeah, thank you.
Right, thank you so much. Moving on, Favor. Of course, you did touch about you did kind of touch about this in your winning interview, but just once more, just for the people who are just tuning in, what do you think is going to be one of your biggest focus points once you're in your role as Vice President of Welfare?
Thank you. So yes, like I touched before, I think primarily it'd be mental health. That's the first thing I want to tackle, because it was such a common topic across all candidates, across all sectors as well. So working collaboratively with others appointed to really home in on what we can do on an individual level to ensure that all students are cared for and they believe that they have that support bubble or support system from the university. I mean, they pay so much, they need to get the total experience. So yes, as well as on the side, looking into and starting to work with Job Shop and work study scheme in terms of job opportunities for students on campus, off campus, and of course, those that are going to graduate very soon. So yes, those are my tactics. Thank you.
Right, thank you so much. Lastly, Aisha, congratulations once more. What do you think? What do you think about the fact that you'll be able to kind of lead the union next year? It's a major step up from your current role as Vice President of Welfare and Community. What are you most excited about being in the same organization, but of course in a different role?
It's sort of hard to pick. I'm hoping that I'll be able to use the connections that I've made both with Kent Union staff and the university staff, as well as local partnerships and organisations to help me orientate myself. But I think probably the most important thing is that the student priorities were mostly around support, whether that be academic support, mental health support, career support. It's something that wasn't new to me. And it's something that we've been hearing, whether or not we've been listening to that is another thing. And so I think it will be really interesting to see how I can use the role to make more impactful change for students. Whereas I feel in my current role, I'm making smaller impacts for smaller groups of people. I feel like hopefully I can use that knowledge and experience to make sure that every single student is covered and is able to engage in Kent Union, whether it be from simply shopping in the co-op to really getting involved and becoming one of our key volunteers. That's really my goal, is to get more people feeling as though they're supported and represented, and feeling as though even if they are not able to be loud, that we are able to be that voice for them, especially at university level.
All right, thank you so much. Over to you, Rachel.
Yeah, so guys, how do you all feel? I'm going to go first to Carolina. How do you feel being with your future colleagues? How does it feel to see everyone?
I'm so excited. You know, we're such a lovely bunch, and I've already had the privilege of meeting a bunch, well, not meeting in person, but, you know, online as best as we could. You know, we've built a really lovely community for the candidates this year. Oh, there goes my battery. Oh, can you still see me? Yeah, okay. No, I'm absolutely thrilled. You know, it's really wonderful that we have Aisha here because she knows what she's doing. And I think that's going to bring a lot of stability to the rest of the team because we're all so new and excited. So it's great to have some, you know, proper experience. So I'm really, really looking forward to it. And I still can't really believe this is happening. Someone pinch me. Am I dreaming?
And over to you, Angelina. Do you have any other questions for the people who've just come off?
So congratulations to you all firstly. Well done. I'm really excited to see what the whole of Kent Union is going to look like. And I just wanted to say you're such a diverse group of people. So I wanted to know, like, what specifically you think you can bring to the table that's going to make you work so well as a team. Anyone feel free to take the lead on that one.
I think probably the biggest thing that I've noticed from the team is that we're very engaged. All of us have been members of societies and student groups, we've been student reps. And so I think it will be very interesting to see how we bring all our feedback and the knowledge that we've gained from our own experiences, but also talking to students and how we can bring that together. I think it's very interesting that we all come from different backgrounds as well. And I think we represent a lot of diversity in student groups this year. So I think it will be good to bring that all together and work on really common goals. Like Favour mentioned, a lot of us are talking about mental health support. And I think it will be really good to kind of team together and make sure that we're trying to tackle some big problems here at the university.
Definitely. There's such a huge breadth of experience you've got. So I think everything is going to go so smoothly for you all, and I wish you all the best of luck.
So thank you so much, everyone here, for coming along today. And congratulations, everyone, all of you, for your new roles. We're so happy for you. And from everyone at KTB, want to say thank you for joining and for being part of today's election stream. We're actually going to end the official stream now, but people can stick around for some analysis. And if you want to stick around, you're more than welcome to, but you don't need to. Amitesh, would you like to join again and just sign off?
Right, thank you so much. Yeah, just to remind viewers that KTV and Inquirers, Alejandro, we'll do some quick analysis of the current voting patterns and of everything else. So do stick around if you do want a bit more insight into how the voting went for this time. I also have with me, of course, Eddie Thomas, head of factual at KTV. We also have Alejandro, who's the news editor at Inquirer.